The question we are asking, is your child a thinker or a mere reflector of other people's ideologies? Are we raising thinkers? We are raising non-thinkers. 2 non-thinkers that are meant to run a family. 2. Like this. I shared this story a number of times. And that is where I learned it myself. When Natalie was in class 5 and we had just had Mokoro. So I'm breastfeeding. We were here in Nairobi. I'm breastfeeding. And I'm telling her, do this. Check the milk. It's on the cooker. It doesn't pour. So she's in the kitchen. Say, Mama, inakuja juu. It's coming up. It's coming. I say, just let it come up. I say, no, itamwagika. Nifunge kuka. Say, wacha tu. Usifunge. I say, itamwagika. Sawa. Fanya kile unataka. So she switches off the cooker. And then she asked me, nitoe niweke wapi? Then I told her, just come with it up to the stairs outside. Leave it out there. Leave it outside. So this is a child who wants me to think for her. Even things that are common sense. And I learned, these are the children we are raising. Mommy, a class 8, Mommy, where is my pant? A class 8, where are my socks? Where did you keep my shoes? And we are comfortable. There is a house help who's been employed to iron their school uniform, put it where they can access it easily, brush their shoes, put them at the door. They just slide their feet, go to school. 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. Can't think. You have been thinking on their behalf all through. And today we've even extended, they are married, we still think for them. A girl would call and say, Mommy, he has said we go and buy a piece of land in Narok. Do you think it's a good idea? Mommy has to say a yes or a no. Cannot think. The spiritual, what she calls the heart. Does your child love to retain God in his heart? Do they have an intimate relationship with God? Do they have a living and active connection with God? Do they know the duty of prayer? Do they know how to pray? Have they learned to exercise their faith? Have you taught them how to approach God? That is the philosophy behind Adventist education. The question I'm asking, is your child prepared for service here and now and the hereafter? What is the aim of education? The same book. To restore in man the image of his maker. To bring him back to the perfection in which he was created. To promote the development of body, mind, and soul. That the divine purpose in his creation might be realized. This was to be the work of redemption. This is the object of education. The great object of life. That is page 15, paragraph 2. Restoration of God's image in our children. So true education ought to restore in your child the image of God. But you realize the education our children are going through makes them forget their Creator and cast off the restraint of His law. If anything, we are still battling with other schools. Why aren't you allowing our children to come to church on Sabbath? Allow my child not to come to school on Sabbath. Some of our children are still going to school on Sabbath. Do not be deceived. there is no one that graduates innocently from any institution. The philosophy behind that education shapes the mind of your child. It does. You don't graduate innocently. You don't. And so when designing a curriculum, I'm thinking, I'm not an educationist, but I'm thinking, when you're designing a curriculum, you first have to envision how you'd want the output to look like. And then you construct it in a manner that when learners go through it, the end result is the output you envisioned. And the question I'm asking you tonight, the system of education that your child is going through, does it envision godliness and godlikeness? Does it? When they graduate, can you comfortably say, my daughter, my son is ready for eternity? Why are we so comfortable when our children have to go through a curriculum designed by Egyptians? Why? So what we have is a Canaanite child, a child in Canaan already. A Canaanite child with a solid Egyptian character. And that is why when they come even to church, they feel a constant annoyance from the teaching and example of God-fearing associates. And I'll hear some parents say, my child has gone through Eager Beaver. My child has gone through Adventurer. My child has gone through, what is the other one? Pathfinder. My child has gone through Ambassador. My child has gone through Youth, but is no longer in church. Why? They have more hours spent learning Egyptian syllabus than the syllabus of where? Of heaven. So you think their presence here makes them godly on Sabbath and engage them seriously in these clubs on Sunday. And then you think you have done it when from Monday through Friday they are learning Egyptian syllabus. Allow me read an excerpt, page 20, paragraph 1, still the same book, Education. The system of education instituted at the beginning of the world. Listen, because we are asking for the beginnings. The system of education instituted at the beginning of the world was to be a model for man throughout all after time. As an illustration of its principles, a model school was established in Eden, the home of our first parents. The Garden of Eden was the classroom. Nature was the lesson book. The Creator himself was the instructor. And the parents of the human family were the students. Nature, the book of nature, was a textbook. At least today we have the Bible and the book of nature. And the Bible has no rival. There is no book in this world that can rival the Bible. None. The systems of education, page 33, paragraph 1, established in Eden, centered in the family. Adam was the son of God, and it was from their father that the children of the highest received instruction. Theirs is the truest sense. Theirs in the truest sense was a family school. Let me tell you, the kind of education the Lord wants us to acquire is not out there. It's in the home. It's not. You'll not find it out here. You can't. The education centering in the family was that which prevailed. Listen to that. The education centering in the family was that which prevailed in the days of the patriarchs. For the schools thus established, God provided the conditions most favorable for the development of character. The people who were under his direction still pursued the plan of life that he had appointed in the beginning. Those who departed, that is where the problem began. Those who departed from God, we learned it yesterday. Those who departed from God built for themselves cities, and congregating in them gloried in the splendor, the luxury, and the vice that makes the cities of today the world's pride and its curse. But the men who held fast God's principles of life dwelt among the fields and hills. They were tillers of the soil and keepers of flocks and herds. And in this free, independent life, with its opportunities for labor and study and meditation, they learned of God and taught their children of his works and ways. This was the method of education that God desired to establish in Israel. But we were caught up with those that pulled out from the hills to come and build the cities. That is where we are. The family is not just the church. The family is also the school, where we build a solid character. That for any reason, if a child is released into the world, for any reason to mingle with the world, like Daniel, like Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, for any reason, if we ever have to release our children to mingle with the world, they know how to steer the ship when they meet a cliff, because they have a foundation so solid. But look at our children. Pump them into the world, no foundation. No character. If your child must go through a curriculum, ensure it is Bible-based. I'm not talking about having a religious education subject, CRE. That is not what I'm saying. That they learn CRE as a subject. That is not a Bible-based curriculum. Every concept of that education, every concept taught can be traced to the Bible. And it must be Christ-centered. For education without Christ is training small devils. This which my son is learning, can we trace it to the Word of God? If anything, the system we have is a system that is anti-God. When we are struggling with creationism, someone else is struggling teaching our children evolutionism. I'm struggling to teach my child, the Sabbath of the Lord is Saturday. The question comes, when do we go to church? She writes on Saturday, is a wrong. It's got to be on Sunday. I'm telling my child, these things you want to put on in your ears, in your nose, your hands, your navel, tongue. These things you're struggling to put on are gods. The Lord does not like them. But someone is telling my child, come with beads. We make necklaces. And we put them on. It's called creativity of the Egyptians. I love a quote in that same book, Education 19, paragraph 1. He who cooperates with the divine purpose in imparting to the youth a knowledge of God and molding the character into harmony with his, does a high and noble work. As he awakens a desire to reach God's ideal, he presents an education that is as high as heaven and as broad as the universe. An education that cannot be completed in this life, but that will be continued in the life to come. An education that secures to the successful student his passport from the preparatory school of earth to the higher grade, the school above. Because education will not end here. In heaven, we are still going to learn. Continue with education there. Is your child prepared for the education in eternity? There are courses we used to do that were called prerequisites. You must do Hebrew 1 before you do Hebrew 2. You cannot just come in the middle of the semester and find a cohort doing Hebrew 2 and then you say, I also want to do Hebrew 2. You'll be told you cannot do Hebrew 2 until you do Hebrew what? Hebrew 1. So there is no way you'll be comfortable with the education in heaven when you have not gotten used to it here on earth. This prepares you for the education system in heaven. But where is it, is what I'm asking. It's nowhere. In my own opinion, like Paul has so many of his opinions, and I believe it's godly, we need a curriculum which allows us to integrate faith and learning. And I think the Lord foresaw how society will look like today and gave us a vision of Adventist schools and how they should look like. The problem is we have left our philosophy to borrow the philosophy of the world. All we have Adventist in it is the name. We need a curriculum that allows us to integrate faith and learning, without which what you're being offered is so narrow and so low, I call it a raw deal. This which we are paying for hundreds of thousands is a raw deal. A school is not Christian because the word Christian forms part of its name. A school is Christian because the curriculum is Bible-centered and it is Christ-centered. What baffles me to date is that we have a sound philosophy of education, very sound, born of heaven. Our publishing ministry, our health ministry, our educational institutions were born out of visions from heaven. People didn't just sit and say, let's try have a school. A vision sent to Mama Y. And she teaches us plainly how our philosophy should look like. So we have a philosophy of education, very sound and very heavenly. We have a department of education. We have Adventist educationists. I'm asking, why can't we just design a canonized curriculum for our children? Why must we borrow the Egyptian curriculum and have it in our school? And as the days go by, we'll keep losing our children. Because a big part of their life is spent in Egyptian training with no foundation that is Christian. If anything, the mother who's supposed to lay the foundation on which teachers build on, the mother is an absent mother. And we are asking, what is happening to our children? We are in Canaan. We decided to give them an Egyptian schooling. It is up to you to choose as an individual what you need to do. It's not for me. Ask yourself, when I'm done paying school fee, do I have a child with godlike character? Do I have a child with a godly character? Are they prepared for heaven? Or I'm losing my children. May the Lord bless us in Jesus' name. Amen.